Yeah, we can.
Are we good? Okay. So, all right. So what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to share a few tips with you guys about SEO and how it works for music. The reason this came about is Bree came to me with some things that she was struggling with SEO for her website. And I was like, I can help you with that. And we started talking and we realized kind of together that SEO works a little bit differently with music. The rules kind of are a little bit different. Some of the things are the same, some things are different. And what we're going to do today is we're going to explain kind of how that works with you guys so that you know exactly how to leverage the power of SEO to grow your music business, spread your message, and get discovered online. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. And so if you don't know me, just really quick, I'm Greg from musicianmonster.com. I'm an independent musician. I have the Musician Monster podcast. I'm also the co-founder of WilnauDesign.com, where I do website and design development and branding work for some high-profile clients. I'm also a world traveler, as you probably heard before I was late. So, guys, I'm so sorry. You guys are awesome for waiting around, by the way. Thank you so much. So that's me. And, of course, you know Bree. I'm not going to tell you anything about her. She's an awesome lady doing a lot of work for musicians. So today, I already kind of shared what we're going to be doing. We're just going to be talking about SEO and simplifying how it works for music, okay? So there are a few things that I want to clarify about what we're going to be doing. What we will not be doing today is we're not going to be going into all of the technical stuff surrounding SEO, okay? There are several reasons that I'm going to go into during the presentation, but the first thing is, it's boring. And what we're going to do today is we're not going to teach a lot of outdated black hat SEO methods. In the last few years, Google has really updated their algorithm, the infamous algorithm. So a lot of the old kind of tricks, the cheap tricks that used to work to improve your ranking, don't work anymore. Okay. So we're not going to teach those things, and we're also not going to follow up with you with spam emails and spam links on your website and emails promising SEO services in India as a silver bullet to help you grow your business. I don't know.
Which you've probably all seen, right? We all get those.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to do that because that's not true, and those don't work anymore. Okay. So what we are going to do is we're going to focus on the big picture of SEO instead and how it works with music. Okay. We're going to introduce a few essential technical details, but we're not going to focus on them, okay? The whole idea today is I want to give you guys clarity on what SEO practices are going to work for you in your situation so that you can make the best decision for your music business. Because, that's the thing that Bree and I love teaching. We love empowering you guys and educating you so that you can make the decisions for yourself, okay? So that's what we're going to do. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to simplify. All right. I'm going to simplify, and I'm going to simplify for you guys. Okay. We're going to focus on the three most important things in SEO. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay. So before we get started, does anybody have any questions? Bree, I don't know. We were supposed to talk about this before we started.
Right.
But
no, we're just winging it. No, I do have to say though, thank you for showing up because it saved me. I said, well, maybe I'll have to do a song and dance, but I haven't warmed up to entertain you guys, and it saved me from having to do that. Thank goodness.
You're welcome. I was going to even do my hair and everything before I got in, but as you could see, I got the total Jufro going on, so
oh my gosh.
I didn't have time to do that. But that's okay. You guys are seeing me at my best or worst, depending on the perspective. So
yeah.
If we have any questions, what we're going to do is, Bree, I have a few slides where I put, sectioned off for questions at certain points in the presentation. But I'm thinking what we could do is we could do those periodically throughout,
yes.
or we can do them all at the end, or what do you want to do?
No, I think just give them a chance. If something does come up, then we can answer it throughout. That's cool. Okay. And I'm kind of watching the chat. So there's obviously no questions yet because we haven't even started talking about it. I think as things come up, people will have some questions.
Okay. All right. So that's what we'll do. So if you guys aren't familiar with SEO is, it's just short for search engine optimization. Okay. I'm going to go over a few little basic details of what SEO is so that we can frame the perspective. And then I'm going to go into some more details about kind of what we can do to how it works for music so you guys know what to do, okay? So essentially, like SEO is just improves your organic search ranking. When somebody types into Google a question or a phrase or a search term, when you improve your search engine optimization, it just increases the ranking that your website would show up in search when somebody's searching for that term, okay? So that's all it is. So there are a few ways your ranking goes up. The time spent on your website, the time when people come to your website, and the amount of time they spend there, okay? How many things that people click on once they get there. And another thing that you might not realize is the amount of quality websites that also link to your site. That has a big impact on your organic SEO. And a few other things, but I'm going to go into more detail on that later, all right? So essentially, SEO makes you easier to find online, all right? All the technical jargon aside, that is the purpose of SEO, okay? It makes you easier to find. And as you guys know, there's more people than ever trying to get noticed and to stand out online. So being easier to find is a crucial thing that we need to be aware of, okay? So that's essentially all that it is it makes you easier to find. So before I get started into some things that we can do, I want to make sure I clarify a few basic things. What I like to do, as I said earlier, is I like to clarify things that could be incredibly confusing by simplifying them into their basic forms, okay? So one of the things that I want to make sure we understand before I get into the details of how we can apply some of this knowledge to our music businesses and our websites online is we need to know the difference between search and social. You guys might already know this, but I'm just going to introduce it. So the difference between search and social is search is something that's Google, all right? Which people are purposefully searching for something specific. In other words, they choose what to see, okay? Now, social is something like Facebook, where people are being fed something. They're being delivered something. They're not choosing what to see, all right? It's just being popped in their newsfeed because somebody's sharing it, okay? So there's a difference between searching for something and being shared something, all right? So I want to make sure you guys know what that is. Another thing that I want to make sure you know is traffic. When I talk about traffic, that's people coming to your website. That's just a general term, a blanket term for people who are visiting your website, okay? And there's two types of traffic. There's organic traffic and there's direct traffic, okay? And the difference between organic traffic and direct traffic is that organic is people already know you. People don't know you. This is when people don't know you. That's when they're searching for something online and then your website pops up. They've never heard of you before. They have no clue. They just organically stumble upon you, all right? That's organic. And direct is when people have heard of you before. Maybe they've seen you play, been to one of your shows. Maybe they've seen like a Facebook Live or something that you're doing, or they're referred to you by a friend. Direct is when people purposefully go into Google search or something. They type in your band's name, your URL. They already are aware of you and they are looking for you, okay? That's the difference between organic and direct traffic, okay? If there's any
so let me clarify that. So organic is generally people either they find you by looking something up on Google and you come up, right? But they weren't looking for you.
Exactly.
Or they saw something on Facebook or some, social site that interested them, but they didn't actually know you. So then they clicked on that. But like direct would be like either they went straight from a social post that you had, say you posted a blog post or something, or a new song and they clicked on it. That would be direct. Or if they were actually going into Google and saying, Carlene Thyssen music page, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. That's absolutely right. Okay, so organic SEO in a nutshell. So organic SEO, if you want to get traffic from SEO, organic SEO, keyword research is important. I'm going to go into a little of this in more detail later, but I'm just introducing the topics for you guys right now. In order to get organic SEO, keyword research is important. You need to create content. This is videos, articles, podcast episodes related to those keywords search that answers questions related to those keywords that people are searching for, okay? If the content is good, right? If the videos you're creating, the articles you're creating, the podcast episodes you're creating are good, then Google shows it to more people in search. That's a general way of describing how to improve your organic SEO ranking and to get discovered organically online, okay? And then another thing that you guys need to know is you need to have quality content that solves a problem, all right? Your website design is important. The way that it is organized and the way that it is structured is very important. Backlinks, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, which are when, like, if you guys get interviewed by like a radio or on a podcast or a radio program. I know Bree, you do Women of Substance. You link to those musicians' websites when you do their
That's right.
Something like that. That's a valuable thing that can improve your organic SEO, and that's a backlink. Okay. These are all critical things to improving your organic SEO and traffic success, okay? So the question is direct traffic or organic traffic? How do you guys decide which is best for you, okay? So if you want organic traffic, keywords matter, all right? This requires you doing a lot of research. Also, your content matters. This requires strategy and being consistent, and creating menu or content silos, which I'm going to explain more later, okay? Again, I'm just introducing you guys the basic things so that we can go into more detail about this, because SEO can be a very, very deep pool, all right? You know what I mean? There's a lot there, but to understand the basics of it, you know, you don't really need to know a lot. So I'm just introducing the basic things to you guys.
Yeah,
okay?
you guys might be feeling like you're, you know, getting a ton of information right here. So don't worry, because he's going to consolidate it into like what musicians need to know about this stuff and how you're going to use it. So don't worry, but he's just giving you a basic understanding.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Okay, so just so you know really quick, when keyword research, because right now that's like, oh my God, what in the heck is keyword research? This is a screenshot I took from Google AdWords, which is a free tool that you can use, that Google uses to help people decide which ads to show people and if they want to buy ads based on certain search terms, okay? So if you see up here, just so you guys I can help you guys decide whether or not for yourself, keyword research is even relevant to you, okay? I typed in local metal bands, all right? So if you see on these results, in the entire world, only 10 to 100 people per month search for local metal bands in Google, all right? Which that should tell you right away that if you're a local metal band, keyword research and organic SEO is not relevant to you, because nobody's going to be looking for you. Nobody's going to find you. It is a waste of time, all right? However, if you guys look a few rows below that, it says wedding bands. You guys see that? There are 100,000 to 1 million people per month searching for wedding bands, wedding cover bands. So if you're a wedding cover band, organic SEO is something that you really want to consider, all right? So you guys kind of understand what I'm saying here and how you can determine whether or not, based on your situation, just as a general overview, whether or not keyword research and organic traffic is going to be something that, you know, you should be pursuing. If not, let me know and I'll go ahead and answer your questions. But again, I'm just introducing the topics to you so I can clarify and show you guys how this actually works in practice on your websites, all right? Which that's going to be in a few minutes. So Bree, if you get any questions for me, let me know and I'll go ahead and answer them right here.
Okay, they wanted to know what you did to find that list of the keywords.
Yep. So you can go to Google AdWords, just type in Google AdWords in your Google search. And what that'll do is it'll pull up Google AdWords website, which if you have a Google account, which is just a Gmail account, you can create an AdWords account. It's totally free. But there's another really cool, simple keyword research tool that I'm going to show you guys in the next slide. That's, you know, a lot easier. So that I'll recommend that to you. So it's just type in Google AdWords into Google search, right? And that's how you'll be able to find that tool. It's totally free. You just need a Google account. So a simplified version, if you think that keyword research is important to you, okay, you can download a free extension for Google Chrome. It's called Keywords Everywhere. And the way that it works is when you type a search term into the search bar right here, like I typed in music marketing, you see where my little arrow points to? It shows you the average searches per month for that search term, okay? And this is totally free. So if you want to do some light keyword research just because you're curious and you're not sure if whether or not organic SEO and keywords are important to you, I recommend you download this little extension. I'm going to show you how to do that in the next page. So all you do is you go to the Google Web Chrome store, the Google Chrome store, and just type in keywords everywhere, and then just click add. And then once you add that to your Chrome browser, what it'll do is whenever you type something in Google search, it'll show you the keywords per month that people are searching for in that keyword. All right, you can just type it into Google search. Does that make sense for everybody? Again, this is I'm just trying to introduce the basic topics to you guys so that you know what actions to take to decide for yourself how to pursue SEO, okay? And I'm gonna tie all of this together as we go through the workshop today, but this is just an important thing that I wanted just to kind of get out front right away, all right?
Yeah, and I wanna throw out, so like the reason you would ever use keywords if you're a musician, I think, is if you're doing something like he showed example of the wedding cover bands, right? So maybe you have a show. I'm thinking of a few of my students. They have a show that is based upon like cover songs or a time period, you know, that people might be looking for, like music of the 60s, or,
Exactly.
you know, they do a historical review of some kind. You know, people might actually be searching for that.
Yes, absolutely.
But if you're just like a folk artist in Texas, people might not be searching for that.
Right. But they also might be. And that's, I think, why I wanted to show this to you guys, because I wanted to give you the tools and the idea of how you can start figuring out for yourself whether or not it's relevant to you. So I'm going to show you guys later in the presentation how to actually take this information that you learn and apply it to your website so that you can make sure that when people type that in to Google search, that you will pop up, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. But again, I'm just introducing the topics to you guys so that you know, have a place to start, all right? All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So we talked about how to figure out whether or not you want organic traffic, all right? So you need to do your keyword research, and I gave you a free tool that you could use to kind of get a basic idea of whether or not that's relevant to you. And how do you know if you want direct traffic though? So if you don't want organic traffic, then by default, you're gonna want direct traffic, okay? And I have a feeling, actually I'm fairly confident, pretty confident. Actually, I know that most of you will probably want direct traffic, okay? That means that you're gonna have a brochure website. It's gonna be a digital brochure where you don't really have regularly updated content that is designed to track and convert traffic, you know, and monetize traffic, make money from organic search.
Well, let's clarify this. So it's not that your website's not going to be updated. You're going to be updating events and news and all that, but you're not going to be doing a bunch of things that would try to attract people directly from Google by writing tons of blog posts about, you know, songwriting or whatever. You know, some of you might do that, but you'll be attracting a different clientele through that.
Exactly. So the way that you would attract traffic would be through like going on interviews, or through playing live performances, or handing a business card to somebody at a venue that you want to get a gig with. That's direct traffic, all right? So in order to benefit from that, maybe somebody doesn't have your exact URL, but they know your band name. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that to properly create the proper SEO for your site, from the direct traffic, you're going to want to make sure that when people type in something that's even closely related to your name or your band's name or whatever, that your site is the first thing that pops up, all right? And that's what I'm talking about when benefiting from direct traffic. Because a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but I'll search for a band and there will be 4 or 5 different things that pop up that are totally different. And I have no idea if what I'm searching for is the right thing. So I want to show you guys how to solve that problem, okay? And that's what I'm talking about when how to benefit from your direct traffic, okay? Any questions on that? Let me know. Bree, am I doing okay here?
You're doing great. I'm just watching the chat. It looks like they're on track with you.
Okay, cool. So whether you're doing organic traffic or direct traffic, guys, music SEO boils down to 2 fundamental things. You need to make it easy for the people who are looking for you to find you, and you need to set up your website so people can easily get what they came there for.
Mm.
And if I could boil down SEO for music to two fundamental things, this is what it's all about. And everything else takes care of itself. Okay. It's not like it used to be where you're about keyword stuffing and, linking to keyword farms and, spam. That stuff doesn't work anymore. It's about considering your fans, your customer, your target market, and setting up your website so it serves them and being easy to find when people are looking for you. Okay?
And I'm going to jump on my soapbox here because some of you might be saying, oh my gosh, this is so obvious. Of course I would do this. I'm already doing this. But I and Beth spend much time researching artists for the Women of Substance podcast. We go in, we find some interesting information about each artist to talk about. And sometimes it is so difficult. We can't find you on your site. We can't find, like, bio information is not easy to find. There's not a lot of anything, that we can use. And so you might think that this is a very obvious thing, but I can tell you that like 70% of the people that we put on the show are not doing this correctly. So I hope you guys will really learn from Greg and go make sure that your website is doing all of this.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to, no, it's totally cool because, you don't know what you don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys exactly how to accomplish this. All right. It's not going to be vague things. It's going to be very specific, actionable things. And I'm going to do my best to show you the principles because I believe that once you understand the principles, you can apply them anywhere and they work. It's just like learning an instrument. Once you learn the fundamentals, you can take that with you wherever you go and use it every time, And that's one of the things that's cool about that I've learned from music is that, you learn the fundamentals and the principles, you can apply them anywhere. So that's really one of the things that I'm going to make sure that we get today, okay? So now we're going to get into the meat of how to apply some of these basic things, just the basic overview of SEO to your website so that you know how to grow your music business, okay? So there are 3 steps to this. The first step is to most importantly, clarify the purpose of your website, all right? And that might seem obvious, but it's not as obvious as it seems, and I'm going to go into that in more detail, okay? The next step is to be consistent across your entire social media presence, your digital presence, and your physical presence, and be easy to find, all right? I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And the third and final step is to organize your site properly and create the structure that makes it a pleasure to use so that for the person who's going there, it's easy for them to get exactly what they came for, all right? Based on the purpose that you identified in the beginning, okay? So are there any questions on that before we move on? If there are, go ahead and let us know. If not, I'll just keep going. And Bree, if you get any questions in the chat, just let me know and I'll go ahead and stop what I'm doing. All right, so let's talk about step 1. Clarify the purpose of your website. So this might seem obvious, but when you don't identify the purpose of your website and the role that it plays in your music business, then you're kind of making guesses about how the role that it plays and how it's helping you and how you need to organize it and structure it in a way that serves, first of all, your target market and your customer and your fan, and ultimately grows your music business. Okay, so that's the thing. The purpose of everything that you're doing, the songs that you're writing, the website that you're creating, the Facebook posts, the Twitter posts, everything that you're doing has one purpose, which should lead to the monetization of your music business, all right? And that's really what it's all about. So you need to clarify how your website applies to that happening, okay? So what do you want people to ultimately do when they get to your website, okay? You need to identify how that action results in the growth of your business. I'll explain in a second. And you want to answer those questions and build your entire website around it, okay?
Now, I'm assuming this can change over time, right? So like maybe right now you're really wanting to get a lot of bookings and you're focusing on a particular program that you're booking and you would kind of focus your website around that. But then maybe later as you build your fan base, you'd want to focus your website around connecting with fans more or something. Is that right? It can change over time?
That is absolutely right. In addition, your website could have, well, ultimately the purpose of your website is the same thing. You want it to lead to the monetization and the growth and scale of your business, but the channels for which that could happen could change. And what you would want to do is you would want to set up different website URLs or pages that you could specifically lead people to for, like, for example.
Sorry.
Hello?
Someone wants you to go back one screen.
Okay.
They were probably trying to take notes.
Also, too, if you want the slides, send me an email after the presentation, and I have no problem forwarding you guys the slides.
Yeah, these are some meaty slides.
I know, I'm sorry. I spent so long creating this presentation, but there was just so much stuff. So it was about what to remove.
Right.
So I'm thinking that after practicing this and reviewing everything, that this is the core information that you guys need to learn. That will at least get you started, and, you know, pursuing things on your own. This is the basics of everything you need to know. All right. Am I good to move forward?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, cool that you've been taking screenshots, but totally, you guys, he'll give you his email at the end, and he's happy to send you the slides. And for those of you in the Academy, we'll have this up in the Academy under our expert workshops with the slides as well.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. So when you consider the purpose of your site, remember we talked about it being basically a digital business card if it's direct. Is it a content marketing platform? Meaning, are you doing organic SEO where you're going to be creating regular videos, regular music videos, regular Facebook posts, regular articles, regular podcast episodes, whatever the case may be? Is it for booking gigs? Meaning, are you mainly focusing on your live act, and you've decided that the way you need to grow your business is to book gigs, which means you need to set up your entire website to make that booking as easy as possible. All right. Is it to sell your music? Meaning, are you creating content that leads to your website, that leads to a digital platform where people can purchase your music, a digital download or whatever? Is it for growing your email list, right? In either case, your website, excuse me, needs to be set up to make that purpose as easy as possible to accomplish for the person visiting there, okay? Excuse me.
While you're coughing, let me interject, because I can imagine people right now thinking, but what if I want to do all of these with my website?
Yeah.
Or especially number 3 and number 4.
Yeah. So the thing is that you are probably going to want to do several of these things, but you only have one website. All right. So what I always advise people to do is, and I'll show you guys examples of this later in the presentation, but if you have a website and you have different monetization strategy, you have different paths set up for, like, you want to book gigs through it. You also want to sell music through it. You also want to sell merchandise through it. Not everybody who's going to be coming to your website is going to be for all of those things, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to direct people to the page that they are coming to your website for. For example, if you're going out to get bookings, okay, don't send them to your homepage. Send them to your website.com/booking page, okay? Or if you want people to buy your music, don't send them to your website.com, your homepage. Send them to your website.com/store, okay? So either way, you need to think about how you want people to respond when they get to your website based on the purpose and how you're leading them there, okay?
Right,
and
so that's about what links you give out to whoever they are, but then also about having it easy to figure out if you do show up on the homepage. Well, if I want to book this person, can I easily figure out how to do that?
Exactly, and I'll show you guys how to do that later in the presentation. But if you're, in most cases, especially if you're doing direct traffic, you are going to have control over how people come to your website, which means you can give them the link that you want to give them based on how you know, based on what you know they're going to be coming to your website for, especially like with booking gigs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you have, like, let's say you have a business card and you hand that business card to somebody in a venue and you want to get booking from them, right? You would give them your website.com/booking, all right? Don't just give them your website homepage. Give them the direct link. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So like I described earlier, ultimately, your entire digital presence, and not just your digital presence, but your live performance, everything is resulting in one thing, which is monetization and the scale and growth of your business. So you need to figure out the role that your website plays in that process and then make it as easy as possible to facilitate it, okay? This is a question point. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And Bree, of course.
Well, they were just asking about an EPK for a booking page. And I said, yeah, that'd be a perfect place to send them directly as long as you have a booking contact form on there as well.
Yep, absolutely. So it's about how you want to set up your website. Sometimes people don't want to see an EPK. Sometimes they just want to know where they can book you. All right. So you want to think about how that's going to look and how you want people to come to your site and how you're going to structure that. And I'll give you guys some examples of how to make it easy and just brain dead simple. Because the number one rule for website design is don't make people think. It might seem silly, but that is the number one thing you want to do.
Yeah, I think I heard this morning that like you basically have 7 seconds when
it's actually about 3.
Is it like 3? Oh, that's sad. I thought 7 was bad. Yeah, if they like get frustrated for a second and they don't know what to do within those 3 seconds, they bail.
You're gone. Yeah,
so,
and
so make it easy.
And people actually look for excuses to justify why you're not worth paying attention to. Okay. So if they're going to justify themselves, oh, this artist isn't worth paying attention to because their website's confusing. And it seems shallow and it seems sad, but you guys have to understand how much stuff we, on an individual basis, we have in front of us all the time, you know?
Yeah,
we've got social media, we've got movies, video, all this stuff. So we need like shortcuts to decide whether or not something's worth paying attention to. So this is something that could really be a stumbling block for a lot of us unless we're aware of it. All right. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of it. And then we go a step further and you know what to do about it.
Okay, real quick, Charmin, an EPK is an electronic press kit. And yes, Brian, we will have a replay because I realize you guys are going to want to go over this stuff again. So you should receive a replay this afternoon in your email. Yeah.
And again, too, if you want the slides, just send me an email and I have no problem sending you guys the slides. It's a PDF, so it's totally fine. All right, so that's step 1 is identify the purpose of your website and what you want people to do when they get there, okay? The second step is to make sure that it is easy for people to find you online when they're looking for you, all right? So to do that, I'm going to go into this in more detail in a bit, but the first thing is your metadata on your site, all right? I'm going to talk about that. The next thing is the above the fold section on your site's homepage of your value proposition. I'm going to talk about that.
That's a big one.
That is a big one. And the next thing, the most important thing is consistency. Not just visually consistent, but this is where branding comes into a big play here. Because let's say, for example, somebody's coming from your social platform to your website. All right, you got to create visual congruency so that process is seamless, okay? Because those visual cues, it's a lot easier to say something visually and instantly than it is through reading or anything else. So you want to make sure that that process is seamless. So you got to make sure that you're visually consistent, okay? So your site metadata and profile descriptions, okay? This is what people see when they search for you in Google, and I'm going to show you guys that in a second. This is also what people see when they go on your website. All your social media channels and everything needs to be consistent, all right? So I'm just going to give you a quick example. So how many of you guys have heard of Peter Hollins? If you have or have not, you know, let us know in the chat. But he's awesome. He's probably one of the most successful independent musicians that, you know, I've ever talked to. He's got a great interview. I did an awesome interview with him on the Musician Monster podcast. But essentially, when you type in Peter Hollins into Google, all of this stuff comes up and it's all the same, okay? And all of this metadata, all these little things that you're reading, everything from his Wikipedia to his website homepage in the search results, it all has a very similar structure and tone and story, okay? So when you guys set this up, I'm going to show you how to do it in WordPress, but you guys can do this in any website platform that you have. Anything that's worth its salt, you'll be able to set the metadata for your site, okay? Whether it's Bandzoogle or Squarespace or Wix or anything, Other things that I'm teaching you, apply everywhere, but I'm just going to give you a specific example of how to do it in WordPress, okay? So this is a screenshot of the back end of my site for Musician Monster. I set the title and the tagline, all right? So you go to just settings in general, and that's a big place where you can go to set your site metadata. Another place to set your site metadata, the most important, is your site's home page, okay? So to do that in WordPress, just go to Pages, and click on the page that you have set to your homepage. And then there's a really cool free plugin called Yoast SEO, where you can set all your site's metadata in one place on the homepage of your site, okay? And as you can see right here where it says snippet preview, it says Musician Monster. You think music, get your music heard. This is even a snippet preview of what it will look like in Google search. And you can just type your stuff in here right there. All right, so that's how you set your site metadata.
And I know most of you guys probably have Bandzoogle if you're in my community, and they do have this as well. So it's in the back end of Bandzoogle. You can put all this information in, and it's very easy.
Yes. So again, any website builder that is worth a darn has this functionality. I'm just giving you guys the example of WordPress.
And if you don't do this, when your site comes up in Google, it won't have any description. It'll just say like the name of your site, and that's it. And if you didn't name your site correctly somewhere to begin with, it will say something weird. So you want to make sure that it doesn't say something.
Or most likely, it won't appear at all.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Yes, Yoast SEO that's a plugin for only for WordPress, Ellen. So I think you have Bandzoogle, but so you wouldn't use Yoast unless you had WordPress. It only works with WordPress, but Bandzoogle has this all built in, so you should be covered. And Greg, let me just throw your email into the chat because they're asking just in case they have to leave or whatever to get the slides.
Yep, absolutely.
What is it? Greg@musicianmonster.com?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Just so you guys can see like how I've applied some of the things that I've talked about so far. My homepage, I don't try to rank for organic SEO. I try to rank for direct traffic. So the keyword that I actually use on my homepage is Musician Monster. All right. So that way, when people type in Musician Monster, mine is the first thing that shows up on Google search. So unless you're trying to rank for a specific keyword, which in my case, my keyword is Musician Monster, I'm not trying to rank for organic. I'm trying to rank for direct.
So the way this works in practice would be like, say you're on my podcast, they hear an episode and they're like, ooh, I want to check out this Musician Monster, and they type it in Google, and since you've optimized for that keyword, it comes up right away.
Exactly. Yep. And this is a preview of what it would look like in organic search in Google when they did that. So you guys can take exactly what I'm talking about and apply it to your website, okay? You don't have to use WordPress. You don't have to use Yoast SEO. As Bree has said, you can do this in any platform. And if your website platform you're using doesn't have this capability, then you need to change your website.
And don't use it, right?
Exactly.
So can you only optimize for one focus keyword, they're asking?
So if you're a cheapo like me, you can only do one. But if you buy the premium version of the Yoast SEO plugin, you can optimize for multiple keywords.
And I don't know what the case is in Bandzoogle. I'm guessing one. You would probably generally want to optimize for your name or your band name, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I think too, I don't know if I removed the slide or not. Okay, so you could technically you could optimize for both. So let me go back to so if you see here, my focus keyword is Musician Monster, but there's another section in the search appearance in Yoast SEO Pro plugin where you can choose the company name, whether you're a company or a person. I'm choosing to optimize for company, and I put in Musician Monster, but I could optimize for person and put in my name, Greg Wilnau. So what that'll do is it'll optimize for both my name and Musician Monster. So you can do both. It's just about what you want to do. So like, I'm not really promoting my my name. It's more of my business name, Musician Monster. So I'm choosing to do both. But you guys, you can do what's best for you. Okay. Let me plug in my laptop power here really quick.
Yeah, we don't want to lose you in the middle.
No, we don't. We've already lost me in the beginning. Are there any more questions about this, guys? I just want to make sure that you're good moving forward. So let me know.
Let's see. Where it says company logo, is that really your logo? They're asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a thing that I wanted to talk about, which obviously there's an arrow pointing to it. So this goes back with visual consistency and branding. You want to make sure that right here, it includes a link to your logo, which is just the image file on your website. And what it'll do is it'll just pull your logo, a file of the image of your logo in Google search when people look for you. Your logo will pop up right along beside your name. And that's a really important thing because, logos are a visual cue that lets people know they're in the right space. All right.
Very true.
So you would put that there.
And any of you guys that have Bandzoogle, like I've never looked into all the details of this in the back end, but they have such good chat help. So if you want to ask these kinds of questions, I'm sure they can absolutely help you with this.
Yeah. Again, I'm showing you how this works in WordPress, but I know Bandzoogle has similar functionality. Okay.
Oh, this is a really good question. Great. So Carlene says a lot of times people spell her name wrong. They spell it with an H, like Charlene. Should she include that as one of her keywords because people type it wrong?
Yes. Yes, she should.
Or like if for me, they type my name B-R-I-E sometimes, like the cheese.
Yes. Yes, you should. You should optimize for that and at least include it somewhere so that, it pulls up. Like maybe even do it like kind of like a little joke thing where like for my name's kind of hard to pronounce. It's pronounced Wilnau, but people have trouble pronouncing it. Wilnau.
Yeah.
So I spell it out in my about how it's pronounced instead of which also is how people would search for it. So it actually kind of tricks the algorithm to pull that up as well. So you might be able to use that as a fun way to kind of break the ice and kill two birds with one stone by spelling it out how it's spelled or how people might misspell it and kind of correct them in your about section. It's just an idea. It's up to you.
Just like Charmin, who says that they spell her name like the toilet paper.
That would be a really good way to break the ice too.
Totally. That'd be like I'm really down to earth kind of opening line there.
Exactly. And you would rank for that as well, because that would be in your site. So that's a really good way to go about it. All right. Any questions? We already got that. So the bottom line is, guys, is just make sure that people who want to find you can, and there's no question as to whether or not they have. All right. And that's why your site metadata and what we're talking about is so important and why it's got to be consistent. I didn't go into how to do all this stuff on your social media profiles because, you guys know how to do all that. I'm talking about your website. All right. And you want to do all this for your for your social profiles as well, but you also want to make sure that carries through to your website. Okay. So that's why I was specific about that. So once you make sure that everything is consistent in that regard, the third and the final step is to make sure that your site is easy, a pleasure to use, which means that the people who are going to your site for whatever reason that you identified in your purpose can find it as quickly and as easily as possible. All right.
So a quick question, say you're an instrumentalist, like Rada is an instrumentalist, and she's asking if she should add like piano in, should it be like Rada piano or something, or just piano, or should she just only go by her name?
So this is like a branding question. I would start by thinking about how you currently refer to yourself and how people refer to you. Considering not just that, but also maybe the way that people might mistakenly refer to you by what we were talking about earlier with Charmin or Carlene. And I would start there and then think strategically about how you kind of want to frame things. And then I would check out that keywords everywhere free plugin and just play around with that to see if that might give you some clarity on how to best frame and answer this question. And if I were you, that's how I would begin going about how to figure out how to answer that question. Because I can't really tell you what to do. I can only advise you with what I would do to answer that question. And that's how I would go about it. So I hope that gives you more clarity on how to, kind of answer that question for yourself. But you just want to think about all of those things and then make the best decision for yourself, considering how you want to portray yourself, what your brand is, how you want people to look at you, what you want people to search for when they find you, and then consider all of those things. Okay.
So many good questions. I have another good question here. So what if your name is super common, like, Katie Smith? How do you distinguish yourself?
What's your middle name?
Find you.
What's your middle name? So the way that you could answer this question is interesting is by thinking about, like, do you have any nicknames? Is there anything from your childhood that you could tie into? I think, Carlene, when we were talking about your branding, we talked about Thistlebird, how people used to call you Thistlebird when you were younger, and that was a cool element that we could tie into your branding to kind of distinguish you. Look for things like that. Look for things that if your name is not unique, you still are unique. You're the only person that exists. So there are things in your life, there are experiences that you have had that nobody else will have had. So think about how you can tie those things together in a cohesive way, so you're not depending on a name that everybody else has to stand out. Because if you do, then you're not going to.
Yeah, I think the problem occurs when you haven't thought of your branding first and you've been releasing music over time as Katie Smith. And so now what do you do? Because if you change your artist name, all of your music will be under a different name. So should she just be trying to rank the highest for Katie Smiths that have to do with music?
That's a tough question, and it would depend on how you're doing already. Like, if you're already having success right now, then I would look at what is working and then keep doing that and then stop doing what isn't working. Because if the problem that we're talking about, if you're the same as everybody else, the problem that comes from that is, you don't stand out. Mm-hmm. So if what you're doing is working, then that's not a problem for you and you don't need to worry about it. But if it is a problem for you, then that means you need to change your strategy. And you need to figure, if nobody's seen you anyway because of your name, then you're not going to really hurt from kind of changing it, So I would recommend thinking about that. And, you just got to look objectively at what's working and what isn't. And then you can make the best decision for yourself. But that's a tough thing. It is a tough thing. But if nobody's recognizing you anyway, then you're not going to really hurt. You know what you're going to get if you keep doing the same thing, and that's you're going to be ignored. But, if you change it and you rebrand yourself, chances are that you're going to, benefit from it. Right?
True. And so this one with Ellen, this is a good question. Sorry, there's a lot of good questions, Greg. She's asking about if her logo can translate into SEO and if it has words in it. Well, it can't because it's an image, but you can add a, what do you call that? An image tag or whatever that will show up.
It's an alt tag and also the name of the file, the name of the logo file when you upload it to your website. Name the logo file, like if it's a .jpg or .png file, name the file your name. Yes. Your artist name that you want to rank for. And also when you upload it to your website, you can set the alt data on it, that's the code, and duplicate the name that's in the file into the alt data, all right? I hope that makes sense, but what that does is that's what Google looks for in the image, okay? They look for the name of the image file and they look for the alt data that's attached to the image file.
And it also means that in Google, if you go to Google Images, it will show up there. If you search for your name, that's how I find all kinds of people's logos and stuff.
Yes. Yep. For example, for you, Bree, when I interviewed you on my podcast, I searched for Bree Noble and I clicked on the Images tab in Google Search, and it showed a picture of you because the name of the file was breenoble.jpg.
Right. I do this for all of my podcast images, like every single one of my quotes and stuff. I'll put like the subject of the quote in there. So if someone were to type that into Google or Google Images, it would come up, which is a really cool thing to do. But you have to name your file correctly.
Yep. And that's part of this, which is setting up your site so people can easily find you, right?
Yep.
That's part of that. Okay. All right. So step 3, make your site easy to use. So remember, we're talking about considering the purpose. We're going to talk about your homepage and the above the fold, which I'll explain in a bit. The navigation and buttons. Believe it or not, buttons have a lot more of an importance than you'd realize in helping people figure out where to go on your site, as Bree, we talked about. So just before we get started in this, and this is where we're wrapping up here, but your homepage above the fold, all right? The above the fold section is the first thing that people see on your website before they scroll down, all right? And the way that this above the fold came about is when people used to buy newspapers. All right, we don't really buy newspapers anymore. But above the fold is when they would fold the newspaper in half, place the top up and have the headline there, and people would buy the newspaper based on the headline. All right, so they'd buy the newspaper because the headline was interesting, and then they'd fold open the paper and then they'd start reading it. All right, this is how it works for your website. Your homepage above the fold, before people start scrolling, has to tell people who you are, what you're about, and let them know what to do when they get to your site within, what did we say, Bree, 3 seconds?
Yep.
It's the same thing with the newspaper. All
so
right,
let me
thing.
ask you about above the fold, because I've had an issue with this. I have a large screen on my computer, and I find that what's above the fold on my screen is not above the fold on someone's laptop. So do you recommend that you check on like what's the best screen to check what's actually showing above the fold?
So the answer to that question isn't as simple as you might think. It's because you would want to go and you see where most of your traffic is coming from. So you can go into your website data and you can see if it's on desktop or mobile, and you would want to optimize to your screen based on where most of your traffic is coming from. This is the developer in me talking, but you can also set it up so the above the fold section on your website only shows certain things based on the screen size. Now that's a little bit more of a technical.
Yeah, I don't know that Bandzoogle and things can do that kind of thing. I mean, it's obviously mobile optimized, but
yeah,
turning on off things might get a little complicated. I think the biggest thing to know about this is there's, lots of templates on Bandzoogle and other things that you can have this huge hero image at the top. Right? It looks cool, but you don't even see the menus because it's taking up the whole page and people might not even scroll.
Yes.
So it would make sure that your cool image at the top is not taking up so much space so people can actually see some of the site before they have to scroll.
Right. And I have a few examples here for you guys.
Cool.
But remember, the purpose of people when they come to your site is you want to make sure that people know who you are and the first thing that they need to do to get what they came to your site for in the first place. So if you guys remember that, if you know what your message is, if you know who you are, you know the purpose of your website, just remember that you want to make it so that people know where to go when they get there. And if you keep that in mind, a lot of those other problems will kind of solve themselves because you'll be aware of it, okay? All right, so homepage above the fold. So what to say at the top? Because remember, we're talking about when people get to your site, you want them to know that they're in the right place. Okay, this is your unique value proposition, your mission, your purpose statement. If you want to think of your above the fold, think of it like a billboard. If you are driving down the highway at 70 or the motorway in Europe at 75 miles an hour, you want to look at this billboard and be able to read it in a second and then know what it's about and then keep going. That is how you want to think of your homepage above the fold section on your site. Okay. The call to action, CTA, which is to consider the purpose of your site and what you want people to first do when they get there. So if that's confusing, I'm sorry, I'm going to give you an example right now. Okay, so again, this is Peter Hollins. Okay, so based on this is his above the fold section for his website, which I totally love, all right? What do you think the purpose of his website is, all right? How does it relate and help him grow his business? Get your name on my Greatest Showman album. He is using his website to promote his Patreon page and get Patreon followers. If you want to see this in real time, you can go to peterhollins.com and check it out for yourself, okay? So his call to action is get it now, all right? And as you can see, like the branding and the metadata, see on the top left, he's got his little logo, acapella artist in Eugene, Oregon, all right? So that's a great example of an above the fold section. So you can see when you click on that thing above the fold, this is the page that it goes to, all right? See how this looks very similar visually, but this is a totally different website. This is his Patreon page, okay?
But
so
it almost feels like you didn't leave the website. It looks so similar, right?
Exactly. And this is really important. So you might not, typically you wouldn't think that this and SEO are related, but it's all about knowing people who know what they want from you, know what they're getting from you and who you are and what they're wanting to do when they get to your place, making sure that, you lead them to that is super important. Okay. So I just wanted to show you guys this. This is another example of the Bottle Boys. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Bottle Boys, but this is their Above the Fold. They create YouTube videos where they do covers on bottles, all right? They blow into bottles and they play these cover songs. So their main purpose, the main purpose of their site is the way that they monetize is through live performances, okay? They use their YouTube videos as kind of promotion and social proof to get hired by corporations, corporate gigs, live performances. And their entire website, if you want to check it out, it's thebottleboys.com. The entire point of their website is to get contacted for bookings. So this is their Above the Fold. And I'm just going to show you how they do this on their website that you guys have an example. So they've been on the Ellen DeGeneres show, okay? So part of getting this bookings is social proof. If you guys don't know what social proof is, when other people do something, we see other people do something, we assume that it's worth paying attention to. So them telling the person who's considering hiring them for a gig, hey, we've been on the Ellen DeGeneres show, is social proof. All right, so this is on their website. Again, the person coming to their website is trying to figure out whether or not these guys are worth booking their performance and how to contact them to do that. Okay, so that's why this testimonial is on their homepage. And at the very bottom of their website is Get in Touch, okay? It has all of their videos, again, more social proof, and clear calls to action at the bottom, which are, if you're interested in booking us, go here. If you can't wait and you want to call us, go here. If you're looking for press materials, go here. If there's anything that we have missing for you related in any way to booking us, email us here. And if you're just curious, you want to check out more social proof, here's links to all our social channels. But you guys kind of see how this works. And they only have 4 menu options in the top: home, the story, video, and contact. Okay. If you guys have any questions about this, let me know.
No, this is a really good example. And if you guys have ever been to the Women of Substance page, I'm going to type it in here. We have something similar, like clearly like our goal is to get you to listen. But if you scroll down a little bit, we have kind of this whole, see how there's 1, 2, 3, 4 options here at the bottom. We have that, like, do you want to get on our email list? Do you want to advertise? Do you want to submit a song? Like, it's very clear. These are your choices of what to do and how to do it. And it has made a huge difference in our site once we did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So having this on your homepage is really, really helpful for people. Someone says, is it a good or a bad idea to change the homepage image? I don't know if you mean like all the time, or I think she's saying like, should I keep updating it with like new performance images, or just keep the same one that's like super branded?
Okay, so the answer to this question might be a little bit more than what you were expecting. But I'm all about helping you make the best decision for yourself. So the cool thing about music and branding in general is that you can change your brand every album. Like, every album is branded differently for music, but the thing that you got to do is, more importantly, is to be consistent. And what that means is, it doesn't mean changing your Above the Fold and your homepage image just because you feel like it, or because you found a new cool image that you thought was neat and it might look good up there. That's not a good reason to change your Above the Fold image on your homepage. A good reason is because you're changing everything else along with it, and this image better represents you, and it's a purposeful, just strategic decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yes, you can, but you got to make sure that the reasoning for that is because it better represents your brand, and not just because you're wanting to do it because of whatever. Everything's got to be consistent, and everything's got to be purposeful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important theme that you've got going throughout this whole SEO talk is, whatever you do, make sure you know why you're doing it and that it fits completely into your purpose and your branding for what you're trying to portray as an artist. Absolutely.
Because remember, one of the fundamental things of SEO is when people get to your site, the amount of time they spend there and the actions that they take. Because if people get to your site and they don't click on anything, that tells Google that your site sucks, right? And that they're not going to send people there because you're not giving them what they're going there for. So the easier you make it to get the easier you set it up to get people, to help people find what they want, the higher your search ranking will go. The more valuable your site will be considered to Google, and the better user experience you will provide. And it just kills so many birds with one stone. Like, you're making Google happy, but when you make your customer happy, you make Google happy. And that's the first thing you guys want to make sure that you do, is if you serve your customer and your fans, Google can tell. All right. So don't.
And we're getting into that right now with navigation and buttons. And for me, that has been the biggest thing that has raised my Google rating. So
yes,
definitely pay attention to this and this next part.
Absolutely. And I'm bragging a little bit about right now because the guys from Bottle Boys, actually, Bree, are on your list, and they are in my music brand course.
Awesome. Yeah. I didn't even know they were on my list. That's cool.
No, yeah, it was really cool. And that was just a really cool thing. So they're a great example of how to do this, guys. Okay. This is just a quick example of my design business. Above the Fold, we design websites that will grow your business and are also ridiculously good looking. Okay. See if we're right for you. So the purpose of our entire website design business website is to get people to contact us to see if they want us to design a website for them. All right. So above the fold, picture of you. This goes back to the thing that you were talking about earlier, our earlier question. And this is to consider your archetype. Okay. I go into this in branding, but there are 4 basic music brand archetypes: personal, persona, theme, or genre. If you think back to Peter Hollins, he has a persona combined with a theme, The Greatest Showman, and he's created a persona. So you guys want to think about how you want to portray yourself in a way above the fold that is also visually consistent with the rest of your social channels, the rest of your site, and the vibe and spirit of your music. Okay, so that's very important. All right, so let's talk about organizing your site. I'm going to try to wrap up as quickly as I can because I don't want to go too long. You guys were already waiting on me. Let's talk about navigation. Okay, so the top navigation, you guys really want to only have 5 menu options at the most, okay? So typically, these are about, all right? This is about you, about your story. Your music, people could check out your music. Your stored merchandise, contact you, okay? Contact you, link to any content. If you are doing organic SEO, or like the Bottle Boys, they have content. They're using that content to social proof to get corporate gigs. You can link to that. I also recommend you do like with Peter Hollins, have your logo on the left, and your logo on the left links to your homepage, okay? So that's navigation, just a basic, basic view of navigation.
Let me ask you one question here, because I have students that are doing this. Say you have a signature program and it has a title. Could you have that as one of your navigations, or would you put it like as a sub navigation under music?
A signature program that has
like
a title?
For mine was called You Are My Vision, and it's a program. It has its own title, and you're sending people there because maybe they've seen that program and they want to book that, or they want to learn more about it.
Okay, so first, I would recommend sending people directly to that page,
right,
if it's related to that. But if people are going to your homepage, you got to remember that the paradox of choice is when people have too many options, they won't pick anything. So that's why I say limit at the most your navigation to 5 options, and then everything else needs to either be in your footer in another menu or in a sub menu like Peter's doing here, in a way that makes sense.
So we can put it in a sub menu like under music.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Because when you go to Peter Hollins' homepage, you see those different options at the top. When you hover over about, he gives all the other options that intuitively make sense, and you know which one to click on. But if you saw all of that at the top menu right when you got there, that would just be confusing.
Also, it just makes it messy.
Exactly. Because the point of the site is, get it now. That's really what he wants you to do. Okay. So those sub-menus are important.
Got it.
And again, Bottle Boys, just showing you guys at the top, they only have a few options up there, and it's important. So this is the thing when we're talking about structuring your menu. Again, we're wrapping up here. But if you want to think of your menu as different silos, so if you're doing content, you can think of your categories and your menu options on your site as if they were like categories or chapters and sub-chapters in a book, okay? And that's how you're kind of organizing and structuring the content and the menus on your site. So like, let's say you're creating a bunch of content that's telling the story of your music. Pretend that the story is a book, and you're breaking up the content and the menu options and the categories into chapters of that book, and then different subchapters. And that's kind of how you want to think about the structure of your content in the menu. Does that make sense, Bree, or did I go too fast in that?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. And again, I know I'm going fast here, but I just want to introduce you guys to the concepts, okay? So we can see how we did this on Bree's site. Okay, this is a perfect example. Bree is doing organic SEO, okay? And the menu on her site is set up to facilitate organic SEO and make it easy to find. So as musicians, when you go to her site, her content is mainly her podcasts. So do you see how she's broken up her podcast content into different categories? And Bree, these are keywords that you've done research for.
Right.
Right? Like artist development, musicianship, music marketing, streams of income from musicians. Those are all keywords. And what Bree does is she organizes those content, those episodes. She tags them in WordPress and files them underneath that category in the menu. So when you click on streams of income music, it'll take you to a page that has all those episodes that were published underneath that category. All right? I know I'm going fast. I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but just know this is the basic fundamental stuff, okay? And again, this is for subcategory. So remember, we're talking about chapters and subchapters in a book. So these are different streams of income for musicians: performing live, house concerts, crowdfunding, music licensing, home studio, holiday music. So a Female Musician Academy was a book. Streams of income for musicians. Music marketing was a chapter. Productivity and habits was a chapter. A subchapter of streams of income for music would be performing live, house concerts, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this is, I can't even tell you guys how many people have said to me, oh, the site is so much easier to use. I can find everything. And if someone has a question and I want to reference some of that stuff, I can just send them the link to that like consolidated page of all the things. If they want to know about house concerts, instead of sending them like tons of links, I'd be like, here's all of these house concert things.
Absolutely.
And you can learn everything I have told people about it.
Absolutely. So if you guys do decide to do content, you want to do a content marketing strategy for organic SEO, which is what we're talking about here. This is a great example to look at, okay? So for yours, it might be different, and it's going to depend on the keyword research that you do and figuring out how, your brand and your music kind of fits into the things that people are already searching for, and how you can create interesting stuff that markets your music in a way that, goes with keywords. Okay. But
and Brian, yes, it is a form of hierarchy. Absolutely. That's how the menus work. Suzanne was saying, will those things you tag in WordPress show up in searches on Google? And that's really about the keywords. So on, whatever page you have and the keyword you're trying to rank for that one, then when people search for that keyword, it will show up. So it's not really about the tagging. The tagging is what's making it show up here in this hierarchy.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so this is the last portion of the workshop, and we're going to talk about buttons and calls to action because, again, making sure that people who come to your site can find what they're looking for quickly and easily. And you have no idea how important buttons and calls to actions are to make that happen, okay? So I just took a couple screenshots. This is Taylor Swift's site. She has a bunch of purposes for her site, but I clicked on the events. So you can see here that her buttons, call to action is buy ticket, and the VIP tickets are all in red, and the buy tickets are all in gold, okay? And that is the only place on this site where those colors are, okay? The reason for that is you want your buttons to all be one color so that everything else, they stand out from everything else on your site, and people know what to do when they click there, okay? So here's another example from our design business. See how all of these buttons are all one color, and they all stand out from everything else, okay? That's super important. Again, there's another example from our website. Again, here's an example from Musician Monster, orange, okay? And so if you want to do this, you can do it in the back end of WordPress. You can set your button color all at one place with a hex color code, okay? I don't want to confuse anybody. I'm just trying to explain. Another thing is site favicon, all right? If you guys want to see, these are things that are on the tabs. right, this is super important for your brand and your SEO so people know who you are. And that's where those show up. You can set those in WordPress as well. And this is just a graphical version of your
Just
logo.
a tiny little logo. That's all it is.
But you think it's not a big thing, but it is. You know, when I have a bunch of tabs open on my, Chrome browser, I know I don't look for the thing to read. I look for the image. You know, the image tells me which tab I'm looking for. And that's a bigger thing than you might realize, okay? And again, you guys can set that here in the settings in your WordPress site, okay? And I'm just, wanting to show that to you.
I'm sure they have that in the back end of Bandzoogle as well. It's a pretty common thing.
Yes, they do. So in summary, SEO for music, there's 3 big things that you guys need to do, okay? You need to clarify the purpose of your site. What do you want people to do when they get there, okay? That is the most important thing. Most important thing, how does that action that they're taking, the purpose that they're going to your site, result in the growth and the monetization of your music business, all right? Step 2 is to be consistent, all right? Set up the metadata of your site. Be easy to find. Make sure that when people are searching for you, whether it's through organic traffic or direct traffic, that there is no question as to whether or not you are the thing that they've been looking for and that they have found you, okay? And then the 3rd step is to organize your site, okay? Set it up so it's easy for people to find what they're looking for once they get there, okay? And above all, once you have the purpose of your site and you know what it serves and the growth of your business, make sure that you serve your customer and your fan and your target market. And that is the most important thing, all right, through the development and the setting up of your website. If you serve your customer, all right, the SEO will take care of itself, okay? And that's the biggest thing that I want to make sure you guys know. It's not about appealing to a search engine. It's about appealing to people, okay? And that is one of the coolest things that changed the way I thought about SEO is Google doesn't look at little, links as much anymore. They set it up so that they know whether or not, you're adding value to your website and your content. And if you do that, it'll take care of itself. So I hope this was helpful. I know it might be a lot of information, but this really is the fundamental knowledge for SEO and how it works for music, okay? So are there any other questions? That's all I have prepared.
Awesome. Were you going to give them the link to the other upcoming workshop at the end? Did you put that in?
I did, but I don't have the form set up because I was going to do it right before I jumped on the call with you.
Well, just to let you guys know, we're going to be doing another branding workshop with Greg coming up in 2 weeks. So watch your email for that, or you can email him directly to get the link if you're asking for the slides. Again, you can email him at greg@musicianmonster.com. But we're going to be doing another branding workshop, which was so amazing. We did one back in June, and people absolutely loved it, where Greg goes into more of the branding side and how to figure out how to brand yourself as a musician. And, I find that my Academy students struggle like so much with the branding stuff, and it's not my specialty, which is why I brought in Greg. So watch for that. You're definitely, that he knows what he's talking about after, watching this presentation. So you're definitely going to want to join us for that I think it's in exactly 2 weeks from today. So
Yes.
I am going to look at the questions here that we didn't answer. And if you have any more, throw them in. I do have to jump off in about 15 minutes because I'm doing a Q&A with Soundfly at 11 my time. So, let's see. Leanna's asking, if I drive traffic to my site for online lessons and courses, because she's a content marketer, then will it also help me get organic traffic for booking or selling music, for example? If anyone's searching for those, or should I optimize those sections for direct and plan to sell to my list?
Yeah. So if the way that you monetize is through online lessons, if people are searching for online lessons, your stuff should come up. So you'd want to do some keyword research to see what people are searching for. And then you could set up the metadata on your site and the content on your site to make sure that, Google knows that is what, the site is, what your site is, so that it shows it. And what will also happen too is people will link, you know, if you got good stuff and people like you, and if you maybe you do some podcast interviews or some other things, some other collaborations, people are going to link to your, you know, your services. And that intuitively also improves your organic SEO ranking. So to answer your question, it depends. But what you want to do is I would start with doing some keyword research using that tool that I showed you earlier to get an idea of what people might be searching for. And then I would go into your site and those pages, and I would set up the metadata so that the keywords are, you know, just properly, the technical structures there, so that there's no question as to whether or not, you know, that's what people are searching for. So I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know, and, you know, I'll go ahead and clarify.
And I think there's synergy there. I mean, it's hard to know whether when you're teaching and doing courses, but you also have your own music, whether to separate those lists or have one big list. I know people that do it different ways. So I think you just have to decide what's right for you. Generally, I think if people like your teaching and stuff, they probably also will be interested in your music just because they're interested in you. So, but you can also just create like a portion of your list that's just for the musical stuff if you want to. And then she had another question. She said that in her area, places like Gig Salad and Gig Masters kind of gobble up all of the Google search for things like acoustic guitar wedding music. And, you know, can she possibly compete with them? And I don't know. I'll have to see what you say, Greg, but it is hard to compete with sites like that if they really are ranking, because they have such a high like domain ranking and they've been around for so long that you might need to find like some smaller keywords to try to focus on.
Yeah. So those are called long tail keywords.
Right.
And, you know, that gets into some more technical research. You can do it. But I think that the big benefit that you have over those sites is that you're an individual, and people are going to be buying your stuff and paying attention to you because they like you. Okay. So if you're using your content to market your services, your courses, and your lessons and your teachings, those things are really, you know, connected. You know, they're really connected together. So if all of your content serves that purpose and you streamline it in a way, you know, your ranking is going to go up. But I don't know if you should think about deliberately challenging those other sites, those authoritative sites, to try to take them on to beat them in keywords. I don't know if that's the best strategy. I would get specific and kind of niche down and find other keywords to rank for that are related to those, but that are more specific, you know, to your needs and your situation.
Awesome. Okay, so we're getting a lot of this. Has been super helpful. One person was just wondering, they're just wondering how this is actually different for musicians versus other businesses. And I think from my perspective, it's more about the intention, you know, whether you're going for direct traffic or organic traffic, because as a musician, you're generally not trying to rank for organic traffic. Like, for example, on my site, I'm trying to rank for organic traffic. And that's why I have podcasts with keywords, and I'm trying to rank for things like, you know, income streams for musicians, or, you know, music career advice and things like that. You guys are not creating a bunch of content like that. So it's more about how people will find you if they're looking for you specifically, and then how they will experience you when they go to your site, versus thinking of SEO in the traditional way. Is that what, right? How would you say that, Greg?
Yep. I'd say, remember, there's a difference between organic traffic and there's a difference between direct traffic. And in most cases, musicians benefit from direct traffic, meaning people already know you. And where SEO comes into play is when you set up the metadata on your site, and you set up your site in a way that those people who are coming to you directly and finding you directly, whether it be from a business card or a contact you met at a venue, an event, and you want to book yourself, that you set up your site so that people know that they've found you and how to get what they're looking for when they get there, right? Yeah. So organic comes more into play if you're like a cover band or you're a wedding band. And again, to find out what works for you, again, we're giving you the general stuff, guys. I've given you the general stuff and the knowledge, and I've given you the tools that you can use to find out for yourself what's relevant. So do some of that keyword research. Just start typing some stuff in to see if anything that might be related to your music, that people might organically kind of run into you when they're searching for something. See if that is something that people search for. And if it is, then I would consider pursuing more organic SEO. But in most cases, you're probably going to find that you're going to benefit more from direct and making sure that your site is set up in a way that you're easy to find, it's consistent, and that when people go to your site, they can find exactly what they're looking for. All right. I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know.
That's perfect. Well, and Ingrid summed it up really well. She said she likes that it's not about using tricks, but how to build a relationship with your customers and fans, and Google will value that. And that's what's really different about SEO today versus, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes,
or even
it's about serving people through your site, and that's what Google tell. That's why when people from India tell you that they got this SEO magic bullet for you, don't listen.
No,
those are
evil.
old school tactics that just do not work anymore. Okay, and that's a really good thing. All right.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I think we're good. I have to run and go do a thing with Soundfly in a few minutes, so I'm going to cut this off. But there have been so many great questions, and thank you for answering all of them. Again, you guys watch out for the branding workshop coming up with Greg in a couple weeks. I'll be sending out some emails about that. You're definitely going to want to attend that. As you can see, he really knows his stuff here, and he'll give you some really concrete examples like he did today, which I think are super helpful. So thank you so much, Greg. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. And we'll hopefully see you guys again in 2 weeks.
You're welcome, Bree. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll